like, you know, from that time on. That was the time when I was like, that's the guy I want to be like. Always.
Which is interesting because Captain Neal also had Captain Treffler as an instructor at IOC, and he says that he wanted to emulate that role model also. And then both of you would end up taking command of leading the company after Captain Treffler had commanded leading the company. And so how were you interested in becoming interested in marine doctrine? You've talked a little bit about you know, the ink blot idea, which is a part of counterinsurgency doctrine. You became familiar with Mr. Lind and combined action platoons, and urban cap was a question mark.
Okay. Here was the conundrum basically we were in, being at IOC, and as I progressed, you know, I went to 2-7 as a lieutenant, so I was out here before as a lieutenant, and so
you already had familiarity with 29 Palms.
Absolutely, but and understood second and third generation warfare like the back of my hand. Like that is all I had studied, so like had that stuff pretty damn cold and understood. Like I'm a books guy. Like I read the doctrinal publications and I read the technical manuals. Like for, you know, so I'm that guy. Like I'm the guy who will read the technical manual and go through it and like take the pain up front. And so trying to get the counterinsurgency model, like Small Wars Manual, yeah, I mean it's got some good stuff, but it was designed for how to come in and take over a small jungle-like country. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what it was designed around. And it wasn't designed very small, it was designed really very big. You know, the concepts inside of there of how to get ready for that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't giving me what I needed to really turn the corner.
So the Small Wars Manual, it was for Honduras, Nicaragua, and Haiti in the 1930s.
And it was. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like some of those things are enduring, but they're not as enduring as we want them to be. Like it was just the only manual.
Right.
Like we didn't have anything else. Like the Small Wars Manual, like it used to be Clausewitz used to be the most quoted, least read book, you know, back in 2000. Now I would say the most quoted, least read book is the Small Wars Manual. You know, especially in the Marine Corps. Like everybody wants to quote it. Like you get through those first 2 chapters, you're a man. Like you are a man. Because like I've tried. Like so I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. Like, oh Jesus, you know, you're just killing yourself. But it, you know, and it has some enduring stuff, and it's decent. But it was, like I said, it was not turning the corner for me, and I was very tactical based too. Like I needed to know the tactics, the training. That's what I was looking for initially.
Did you have any discussions with people?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On the limitations of the Small Wars Manual.
Yeah, but you know, like mainly like groups of us getting together around a campfire and a lot of beer.
Yeah.
And again, like the Small Wars Manual was much like the Bible at one time. You know, you couldn't talk too bad about the damn thing. You know, and again, like since not very many people had read it, like you know, like, oh, still applicable. Like no, not really. Like that whole part on mules, like not really applicable to me right now. You know, and what I got more out of it, and like a quote from a mentor of mine who will never get enough credit in my mind is a guy by the name of General Droughty, who's in charge of the Marine Corps University Foundation. Influenced me more than I think I knew, and that he knows. And like he's one of those people, like when I left, like he was somebody I had to go see and tell thank you. He ran what was called the Quatrefoil Club for us, which was an education program for some officers. And
what time frame was that?
I did that from 2005 up until I left.
And you were stationed in Quantico? Yeah, I
was stationed in Quantico. I was an IOC instructor. After I went to 2-7, came back, I was a TBS instructor, an SPC, and then an IOC instructor.
And just as a platoon commander of 7th Marines, and this is your first tour of 7th Marines, what role does 7th Marines being located at 29 Palms play?
Well, this is we'll go here. Yeah, Lee, this is a horrible story that I don't like to relive. I had a CAT unit, and I had a battalion commander who was an absolute genius at letting people exceed where they were in life. And as a CAT unit, he's like, just go forward, be scouts, like do whatever it takes. Like, this is what I want out of you. I want you to spend 80% of your time here, 20% here, and so I had a unit that was, again, very decentralized, but like could, you know, and I was very into the analysis piece of, we knew the Iraqi order of battle. I had corporals and sergeants who could tell you if they saw a BMP-3 that there were 2 Burnhams in front of them somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like that level of detail. And like they could recognize and name a high value target that I had determined a high value target, and whether they were authorized to shoot at it or not shoot at it without me ever giving the command. And like they all knew that if they saw, if we were in a defensive posture and they saw, you know, the enemy version of a MICLIC, mine clearing, you know, mine line clearing charge, they were authorized to take the shot without ever having to ask if they couldn't get radio contact. That the commander's intent was, that's a high value target, it has to be destroyed. They knew the top 10 high value targets in Iraq. They knew the order, they knew the battle plans, and we were fully prepared to execute that. And we would even, to the extent of my guys in 29 Palms, did maintenance on and drove the Soviet vehicles. There were Soviet vehicles that TTCG had gotten a hold of. I had gotten a hold of the captain there, told him I would come do maintenance if he'd let me drive them. So we would go get 2 S1s and BMPs and Burnhams, and we would drive around against each other. You know,
and that, just in the desert.
Yeah, I did it in the desert as a lieutenant. It was awesome. Like, this is when I realized, like, you know, this runaway plan's not working too well for me. Like when we had contact, you know, with our own guys. They were in BMPs and MTLBs, and we had contact with them. We were trying to break contact, and as the Burnham drives past me, or as the BMP drove past me, as I'm trying to break contact, it's like, all right, we got to rethink this shit. You know, this isn't working for me. We got to have a different way to break contact to some Vs. So I mean, that's the level of detail I had of understanding.
And when you would go out and do that evolution as a first lieutenant, you were the OIC.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You declared
like
range hot.
Yeah, it was great. Like I had very little supervision. Like I laugh all the time. Like as a first lieutenant, like I had nobody ever came out to my ranges. I had my gunner who would help me set them up, but like not my boss. Not, you know, I would just tell them what I was doing, back brief them, suppress them with paperwork, maneuver with words, and you know, it was one of those things where I kept the higher command away from me. Just because, I mean, much like, you know, my boss Colonel Turner was like, just go do good things and keep convincing me you're doing good things and show me every day.
And was that in contrast to the other regiments in the division that are down at Camp Pendleton?
You know, I don't know. I would hate to be that guy and say that that's the case, but I would definitely say I had a lot of damn freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. So my guys were that prepared, and I mean, I had went into the concept of understanding that I needed like NCOs who were highly maneuverable. So I set up a thing called a Vehicle Commanders Course, to where whether you were 51, 31, or then 52, 31, and 51, because I had javelins also, I put you through a commander's course. The other unique thing was I was a platoon commander by myself. So I had 17 vehicles and 70 Marines by myself as a commander. And that was awesome. A lot of guys are split into 5 different, you know, 4 to 5 different platoons nowadays. I didn't have that back in the day.
So let's move on to your knowledge of the kind of ink blot strategy.
Okay. What happened here is trying to study that whole thing. The turning point book for me was War in the Shadows. Massive book. It's like a 3,000 page book that again, like, will make your eyes bleed at some point or your ears burn, because I ended up just switching to audio tape with it and listened to it every morning for about a month. War in the Shadows was a book about how counterinsurgency is more than you will ever know. Like, we've been fighting